see you here and glad you have interesting to do business with Russia. My name is Alexey Diamidov. I'm from Russia, but last years I live in the Netherlands and work for international logistics company Nordic Transport Group, NTG Air and Ocean. And I have 10 years of logistics experience, and during all these years my main action is providing logistics service for the Dutch companies which do business with Russia. And I would like to share with you my experience and to tell you about the potential challenges which you can face doing the business with Russia. And the size of these challenges, it depends on which kind of Incoterms base you're going to work. Here is the all possible Incoterms bases which you can choose. And here you can see the green color means that it is your responsibilities as a seller. Of course, if you would like to minimize your logistics risks, then you have to choose the area with the less green color in it. And every additional green color will bring you potential challenges and maybe some risks. But believe me, that doing the business with Russia in logistics sector, you will face some challenges anyway. Even if you work on the X-Works and FCA. That's, for example, it can be challenged with a detailed technical description. So be aware that Russian customs, it's really total different worlds, and it is really unique customs. And they would like to know everything about the coming cargo. They would like to know what material it is made from. They would like to know where and how you're going to use it, and with all small details, how you're going to do that. And of course, they would like to know all possible technical description. And the second challenge is here in this group, it is paperwork. I mean invoicing, packing list, international trade contract. And again, Russian customs would like to know everything about this trade. They would like to know how it is organized and all the small details. And the difference is that probably you experienced a little bit differently to work with other countries than in Russia. So I don't want to say that it is easier or more difficult, but it is different for sure. We are not going to discuss now what kind of all the points which should be mentioned in the paperwork, but please be aware that you have to provide it. And the conclusion of this part, it is your challenges that you have to be ready to have extra job, extra work on the technical description and the paperwork. The next group of the challenges, it is the Incoterms. It combines these 4 groups of Incoterms. And here you have extra tasks. The first of all, of course, you have to bring your cargo from the Dutch warehouse to the seaport. And in some cases, you have to organize the sea freight itself. But basically, it shouldn't be the big problem for you because the sea freight ports, the destination ports, they should be mentioned in your contract agreement, and it is the same route all the time, and you have to go there. But here, the challenge is that now you are responsible for the transport documents. In the case of the sea freight, this document we call bill of lading. And the point is that this document should be issued based on the Russian customs requirements. And again, they are quite different from the Dutch customs requirements, for example. And it is important for you to get bill of lading instructions from Russian side. It means that you have to cooperate with Russian side very well and very close. And super important that you have to send the bill of lading for the check-in and confirmation before cargo arrived to the seaport in Russia. And basically, this is really the main rule to do logistics with Russia. There's all the documents which are involved in the logistics process. They must be checked and must be confirmed by Russian side before departure. Otherwise, if you send something there surprisingly, then you can have a lot of problems and extra costs, extra waiting time, and something like that. It's another point here that's arrival terminals should be agreed with the Russian side in advance. Every seaport has few terminals, and it is interesting that the custom clearance process can be different on everyone, on all of them. And for your Russian customer, for your Russian client, it can be extremely important to have the goods on the one terminal and not in another one. So I think here you shouldn't go so deep to understand the reason, just follow the instructions from your Russian side. And the conclusion of this part, that you have to be in really close communication with your Russian partner, with your Russian buyer, and it is important for you to remember that this rule, that all documentation should be checked and confirmed by Russian side before departure. And the next group of challenges combines these 4 Incoterms bases. In some cases, here cannot be extra tasks comparing with the previous part. For example, if you have just road freight from Netherlands to Moscow without any reloadings, without any extra tasks, then it's going to be no extra challenges here. But in some cases, if your logistics is multimodal or your delivery place is quite difficult, then you can have the challenges here like high logistics cost and also the big geography challenge. And because of that, it is quite difficult sometimes to understand the optimal logistics route. And of course, that's also, you can face some the poor level logistics service in some destinations. And here I would like to show you the transport network. Here you can see the population of Russia. The interesting point here is that, as you can see, that some area of Russia is not populated at all. And 78% of Russian people, they live in European parts of the country. And only 21% they live in Asian part. The road freight network is developed more or less the same like population map. So if you have to deliver something in European part, then most of the time it shouldn't be the big problem for you. So because the road freight network is quite developed there. And most of the time it is going to be the best logistics option for you. But for example, if you need to deliver your goods, let's say quite far from Moscow or more to eastern part, then probably railway network, the railway option can be the best for you. Here you can see how railway network is developed. It is quite well developed in European part, but the interesting thing here that's the most of the time, if we send the cargo out from Netherlands to Russia by railway, even to European part, it's not going to be comparable with the road freight or sea freight. But if you go to, let's say, to Siberia part or further to east, it can be comparable. The point of the Russian transportation is that you always have to compare and find the best logistics way for you. So it is really not always clear how what is the best logistics ways. So, and you have all the time to compare road freight with the railway with the sea freight, and all other types. Here you can see the information about 3 biggest seaport areas in Russia. The biggest one, it is St. Petersburg, and the biggest port with the biggest flow, because the flow to Moscow into St. Petersburg goes via this seaport. And if your final delivery destination is Moscow or St. Petersburg or somewhere in between, in this case, this route via this port can be most attractive for you. But you have to remember that you have to compare that with the road freight. It is the same story in the south of Russia, where we have the seaport Novorossiysk in the Black Sea. And if your delivery is somewhere too close to this seaport, in this case, of course, this is going to be the best logistics option for you. But if it is quite far, even 200 kilometers, it depends, of course, which destination. then the probably road freight can be comparable as well. So here is again the confirmation that you have to compare the few different logistics types all the time. And the third port, it is Vladivostok area. This is Japanese Sea, and this is the main seaport on the east of Russia. And of course, if your delivery is especially to this city, this option is going to be the longest, but the cheapest, and maybe the best. But most of the time, your cargo should be delivered somewhere else, and in this case, it should be a combination of the sea freight and the probably railway freight and maybe road freight. That's why sometimes it can be better and faster and cheaper to send out your cargo by railway from the Netherlands to middle of Russia. So, and here is the, let's say, the independent the transport type, which is organized in Russia quite well. And here you can see the map of the all international airports. It means that you can send your cargo there, and it's going to be the custom cleared there. So, and here is nothing special what you need to know about the air freight to Russia, because it is more or less the same like in the whole world. It is always the fastest option, but the most expensive option. And the conclusion of this part is that you always have to compare at least two different logistics routes, and you have to do that twice per year, let's say in the different seasons, because the season can be really reason when rates can be changed. And it is also important for you to understand that as more complicated your logistics is, then it is more important for you to have the good, reliable partner in Russia who can solve your logistics problem internally. And here is the last group. It contains only one Incoterms base. It is DDP, delivery duty paid. And the most important point is that the classic DDP doesn't work in Russia. There are many reasons why, but the most important reason is that VAT can be refundable to the importer, to the Russian side, only in case if it is paid by Russian final consignee directly to the customs. In this case, the VAT is not going to be refundable. That's, you can use some agents in Russia, and they can pay duties, VAT on behalf of you. But if it's going to be like that, then it means the VAT is not going to be refundable to the Russian consignee, and it means that the price will be increased by 20%, which is crazy. And of course, it's impossible to work like that. So it is difficult, but it is possible to find some solution. The one of them, it is, we call it like DDP VAT unpaid. So it means that you can, it can be DDP, but VAT should be paid by your buyer in Russia. And in this case, it can work. But quite often, it can be a situation that your Russian buyer wouldn't like to be involved in logistics at all. Or maybe they can't, due to some reasons. And in this case, you have to find some company in Russia which is going to be like middleman importer. So, and in Russia, this service, it calls like trade house. And it means that trade house is going to be your partner. So that's your final buyer should pay rubles to your local partner as a trade house, and this trade house should buy euros and transfer that to you. So, and here is that it is the most difficult challenge, like to find the right partner for that, because you should understand that in some moment your finance will be in their hands, and it is extremely important for you. And here also, please don't forget that you are still responsible here for custom clearance and for the certification. And here you should be ready, should be prepared again to provide a lot of information to your Russian buyer. And for certification, it can be even more complicated and even more difficult. And here is another challenge which is mentioned separately, it is political situation. Unfortunately, at the moment, political situation in the country is not that good, and it is true. And we know, for example, we have quite good example. It is sanctions. They're from both sides, and for you, it is super important to understand that your product is out of this list, or even not close to be there. And that's also important for you to follow the exchange rates. The last few years, it is more or less stable. But I remember 2014 and 2015 when it was increased twice. And it was a very difficult time for Russian business, and a lot of Russian companies just gone out of the business, and investments gone out from the Russian market, and it was really a difficult time. So, and yeah, that's my recommendation to you. Always follow the political situation inside of Russia and around of Russia, because it can give the impact on your business. It doesn't matter which Incoterms base it is, what kind of transport it is just like influence in general. So, and yeah, you have to track and understand what kind of changes can come. And these changes, it is true, they can bring us some problems, but it is also true that they can bring us some opportunities. And our task is try to predict these opportunities and not miss this chance, because I really believe that Russian market is full of potentials, and yeah, of course 145 million people living there, and it's very interesting potential market, and I believe that someday the crisis will gone as all other crises, and Russian market will be very interesting for the whole world. And remember that in Russia is open country. There are a lot of people who want to grow, to have fair international business, to bring something interesting ideas in the country. And yeah, so the Russia really wants to work and have international business. So thank you for your attention. I will be glad to answer your questions during the panel session or during network. Thank you.